Welcome, everyone, to the Better Love Movement podcast, where you will finally learn how to intentionally do dating and relationships right. My name is Anita Stoudemire, and I'm a licensed professional therapist and your personal love mentor. I've worked with thousands of singles and couples, giving them the skills needed to attract and keep the amazing love they desire. It's my heart's work to help people to get the skills needed to not only become the very best versions of themselves, but to help them grow and evolve emotionally and relationally. You can absolutely have the romantic relationship of your dreams. Come and let me show you how. Hey everybody, it's Anita with Better Love Movement, and I am here back with this week's podcast episode. So this week we are in episode 59. It is entitled, Love is Not Enough. And I was brainstorming some different podcast ideas, and this was one that I can't believe I haven't come up with sooner. Like, we are in episode 59, and I'm just talking about the whole concept of love is not enough. So I don't know what I was thinking the other 58 episodes, because this is something that I should have talked about sooner than now. But I'm going to talk about it today. And as always, I welcome your feedback. I welcome your comments and ideas and thoughts about the podcast episode. But we are headed into 2020. Who would have thought that we would see 2020? We were just talking about this the other day at dinner. Like, oh my gosh, who would have thought? I know not me. When I graduated high school in the 80s, I didn't even, I didn't even think, the world would be in existence in 2020. Wow. But here we are, and I'm glad about it. So, but yes, this is a great episode, I believe, as we're ending 2019, because I want to shift your thought and your focus on the idea of, in relationships, in marriages, love is not enough. Love is not going to be the only foundation you have in a good, healthy marriage, in a good, healthy relationship. And we have been taught that, love is kind of the end all be all, right? That's the end all be all. That should be the main thing that we're looking for, that we should love the person and the person should love us. But that is assuming that that person has the ability to love in a mature way. And so here's what I would say about the concept of all you need is love, right? All you would need is love if you subscribed to the definition of love that's in the Bible. So if you loved exactly like the definition that's in the Bible, I'm actually going to pull it up here. It is 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4 through 13. Let's read all the way through from 4 through 13. It says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking or selfish. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes, and it always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. So that is where this idea came from that says, all you need is love. Love is all you need. That is the main thing that you should be looking for and considering, and especially in a romantic relationship or a marriage, that should be the foundation in which everything is built on. But again, I just want you to take a moment to kind of reflect on that scripture that I read, where it talked about, that was a wonderful definition of what love is. And even towards the end, where it talked about, when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child, and then I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. So that right there also speaks to the maturity that is necessary to actually love in this way. So I'm going to pull some information out of a book that I still have to this day. I actually read this book in the 90s. This book was written in 1988. I read it in like 1995 or 97, something like that. And it is called Why Love Is Not Enough. It is by Sol Gordon, PhD. And he is a Jewish author. He talks at length. He's a professor emeritus of child and family studies at Syracuse University. And there's a lot of Jewish sayings in this book about different things, but for the most part, I mean, a lot of the information in this book is really, really great information. Even though this book is, 20 years old, this is a really, really great book. And I still have it. I still have it on my shelf in my counseling office. I still refer to it. So it's just so interesting to me that sometimes when a person writes about something, how timeless it is, that it's still very relevant to today, even though this book is, 20 plus years old. But he speaks in this book about mature versus immature love. And he does make mention of this scripture. And, he gives this list of things that, mature love, how we can display mature love, and how immature love is displayed. So I would subscribe to that thought that love is all you need if everyone who said they were in love were using this scripture as the blueprint. So if everyone was loving in this way, 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4, let's say through 7 or 8, if everyone was using this as the blueprint, then yes, I would say yes. Love is all you need, because if you are loving like this, if you are patient, if you are kind, if you're not envying or boasting, not proud. Oh my gosh, my pastor maybe 4 or 5 years ago, he did a whole series on every problem that we have in our relationships boils down to two things: selfishness and pride. That's it. Every problem people have in relationships, whether romantic, whether family, friendship, they're all boiled down to those two things: selfishness or pride. And he gave all these examples, and yet at the heart of all of them were those two things: the person was selfish or the person's pride got in the way. That's it. And so, yes, if everyone on the planet who presumed to love another person, If they loved with this as the blueprint, yes, love would be all that we need. But because we're imperfect, because we, we're going to make mistakes, because a lot of us are still stuck in our ego mind. Like we're not quite there yet. We're not on that enlightened journey. We are still very much stuck in our ego selves. Yes, love is what we say is love. No, it's not going to cut it. And add to that a lot of us are immature in our love. We are childish and immature in our love, in the way we love others. And we have to keep that in mind as well. So, no, love is not enough. And especially now, where so many people are calling so many things love, and it is not. So, in Sol Gordon's book, he says the 6 crucial traits of strong families are mutual commitment, including time for your children and each other, significant time spent together, expressing appreciation of and for each other, spiritual wellness, the ability to face problems head on and cope with them in a positive way, and open, honest communication. Wow. That's it. That is it. So when 2 people commit to mastering all of those things, and they're committed to doing it, that's when you see marriages flourish. That's when you see people who have long-standing, happy, healthy marriages. He says marriage is a lifetime commitment, and that if you have any significant doubts or unresolved problems prior to getting married, it's something that you have to work through before getting married. And that is so true. Lots of times people will come to me for premarital counseling, and there'll be a lot of issues there. And I can see it, and honestly, I believe they can see it. And yet they keep going. They go on. They get married, they have their wedding, and those problems persist. I know one of the most recent talks that I saw that talked all about people sleeping around. Okay. So let's say if you're a man or a woman and you're having premarital sex, you're just having sex with multiple people, right? Or you're having these very shallow relationships, these, hit or miss relationships. They're not really committed. They're not exclusive. You're just kind of doing this. And let's say you do this from 18 until you're 30, right? That's 12 years. You're doing this very, haphazard. I'm seeing this person, that person. I'm sleeping with this person, that person. I don't really have any experience doing the long-term dating thing, but I am just randomly seeing this person. And you do that for 12 years, and then you decide at 30 you want to settle down, and you meet someone great, and you date them exclusively, and you decide to, get engaged, and then you get married. It's unlikely that based on your track record, you're going to adjust to marriage, because all you've done for 12 years, you've basically practiced being very uncommitted, very haphazard, sleeping with different people, not communicating effectively. Like you've had a lot of bad habits exhibit themselves over the last 12 years. And now you've met someone, and in a year you've gotten engaged and you all have gotten married, and you think, oh, wow, okay, now I'm going to be faithful. I am now going to know how to communicate with this person. I'm going to know how to resolve conflict. And we're going to have a happy, healthy, long-standing marriage. No, that's not going to happen. Because honestly, you don't have any experience. You don't have any practice doing that. And so a lot of people, myself included, we bump around and we chug along the first 2, 3, 4 years of marriage because again, we're not well versed in how this thing is supposed to go. And some people don't make it out of that adjustment period. Some people do not make it. They end up cheating, something bad happens and it's over. In 4 or 5 years the marriage is over. So that's something that just recently I saw a segment about that's why people are not successful in long-term relationships or marriages because they've spent so much of their time practicing foolishness. They've spent so much of their time doing the wrong thing, and then now that the time has come to do the right thing, I mean, they have no practice in doing the right thing. Doing the right thing is hard. So that's one of the things that I can agree with. That's something that I'm seeing. I can agree with that is definitely a problem if you have not practiced doing the right thing. That's not going to come easy to you. So that's one thing to definitely think about. And so one of the things that I could say about that is if you started having relationships at 16, 17, 18, let's say 18, and you progressively got better, like every relationship you had, you learned something, you grew a little bit, and you progressively got better. Let's say you had a relationship at 18 that lasted 2 or 3 years, and that relationship ended. I want to believe that you learned something in those 3 years with that person. And perhaps you were able to see some things about yourself. You were able to see some things about that person. And you learned and you grew. And so the next relationship that you had, you did things a little bit differently. You learned some hard lessons. You learned how to communicate better. You learned how to resolve conflict, how to express yourself better. And that each and every relationship you've ever been in has progressively taught you more and more and more in preparation for your marriage mate, the person that you would spend the rest of your life with. That is the hope and desire. Now, I know a lot of people, that is not the case. For a lot of people, they have been in relationship after relationship, marriage after marriage after marriage, and not much has changed. Not much has changed. They have shown up exactly the same over and over and over. They haven't learned much of anything. And so all those relationships end the same. They all have the same end result. And even baby steps, even little tiny steps of progression is progression. So it's really important that we kind of learn and grow with each and every relationship that we have until we find that one that may be our one, our forever after person. Like that's the person we live and die with, right? But I know a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people, they are practicing these behaviors, unhealthy behaviors, or they're not growing, they're not changing, they're not learning. And they're doing this for years, 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. They are showing up exactly the same over and over and over. There's no growth, there's no progression, there's no maturity in love and in relationships. And that's a lot of people. So that's why this idea of all you need is love. Well, if that person isn't growing or changing or progressing or evolving, love will more than likely not be enough. Like that person isn't even learning basic communication skills. They're not learning basic conflict resolution skills. They're not emotionally intelligent. So their love is just it's not going to be enough to cover all of these other areas that must be in place in order for the relationship to be good and healthy and long lasting. So that's the idea of maturing over time and doing better. I mean, a lot of people are not doing that. And so we are seeing these stuck patterns when it comes to love. People are not growing, they're not maturing. So, one of the things he talks about is, how you treat your partner and how your partner treats you. That is incredibly important. And what I'm seeing a lot nowadays is people who say they love each other and they treat each other so poorly. And those two things aren't congruent. That just does not make sense. So you're saying you love this person and you're cheating on them. You're lying to them. You're hitting them. You're stealing from them. You're cursing them out. You're calling them names. You are emotionally abusive. You're not spending time with them. You're not putting their needs first. Like there's so many incongruencies in people saying they love a person, but their behavior doesn't exemplify that. So again, that's why I say if we could all love the way that scripture has talks about, if when we said the word I love you, that our actions completely exemplified what was in the scripture that I read, then yes, I would say love is enough, because I love you means I'm patient with you, I'm kind to you, I'm not envious of you, I'm not boastful or proud, I'm not selfish, I'm not holding grudges. I'm not delighting in the wrong thing. I'm not delighting in that evil thing. I am rejoicing in truth. I am protecting. I am trusting and hoping. Right? So if me saying I love you means all of that, then sure. But too many times I see couples that come in and claim to love each other, and their behavior just does not line up with that. I mean, that's a very basic idea, is if you say you love a person, then how you treat them will reflect that love. And that's not happening. So that's a part of it too. How you treat your partner, how your partner is treating you. And then we can talk about the security and commitment, and growing together, and that person being open to you growing and you being open to them growing. um but the security of knowing that this person can be trusted, that this person has your back, that this person can be counted on, um that is a part of the mature love, that I'm talking about. That over time, you become more secure, not less secure. And that over time, you can believe that this person, is who they say they are. They're going to do what they say they're going to do. Their consistency gets even more consistent as opposed to less. So we're seeing that a lot of times people start out strong and then, they waver. As time goes on, quite the opposite happens. They spend less time. You feel, less secure. They get less committed. And that is not a true mature love. So I'm going to read some of the signs that he has in here of mature love. And I really like them. Like I said, this book was written over 20 years ago, and it is still incredibly relevant. So the number one, these are some signs of mature love. Number one he has down is intimacy. And that is a closeness, a trust, and the ability to sustain a caring, loving relationship through good times and bad. That's not sex. That is a deep knowing of each other. Number two, he puts a sense of humor. Oh, I agree with this. that if you are not able to laugh at yourself and others, if you're not able to have fun, if you don't have just a lightness about you, a sense of humor about just life. I mean, just some crazy things are going to happen, and you have to be able to laugh about them together. That is really, really important to not take yourself or each other too seriously. Number three, honest communication. Open and honest communication and good listening skills. Listening to understand, not just to respond. Number four, a common sense of mission and purpose. Shared ethical and or spiritual goals. So many couples come together just based on romance and that feeling, that chemistry. But what is the purpose of your relationship? What is the real purpose of you both coming together? I do believe couples need to have goals for their relationship and a deep sense of purpose of this is why we're coming together. And it can change, it can grow, it can evolve over time, but that should always be something that's at the forefront of your relationship. Number five, he says equality. Now, in that regard, he says a conscious sense of the essential importance of respect for each other as partners and shared responsibility in career, leisure, child rearing, and lifestyle choices. And you know me, to that I would say not so much equality as equity. Because I believe we need to have equity in romantic relationships to keep the spark, to keep the flame going, to keep that interest there. There has to be equity. So things are split in a way that they are fair. So they may not be 50-50, but everyone has a fair share of their responsibility. Number six, a sense of adventure. A desire to keep the relationship fresh, new, and interesting. Ways of expressing affection for each other every day. I agree with this. A lot of times couples will experience infidelity in their relationship. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of people have said, the relationship was just stale. I mean, we just did the same thing day in and day out. And, there was no real sense of adventure. There was no real sense of that continued wanting to get to know each other. It was just it was rote, it was routine. And I know for me, that's something that I definitely dislike. Um, I would almost rather be cheated on. This is going to sound awful, but I would almost rather be cheated on than be in a relationship that was ambivalent. Like that was just status quo. To me, that is a fate worse than being cheated on because it's just so it's just so emotionless. It's just there's no excitement. There's no nothing. There's nothing to look forward to. It's like the same old thing day in and day out, over and over and over. It's so rote. It's so routine. There's nothing special about it. So I know that's a big deal for me, that sense of adventure. I need to feel like we're working on or towards something kind of all the time. Number seven, shared experience. So this is an ever-growing repository of mutual undertakings, private conversations, and shared thoughts on issues and events, as well as celebrations, rituals, and traditions you both enjoy. And I agree with that. Over time, if you've dated someone exclusively and you're committed, you're going to go through stuff. You're going to experience like a lot of different things, and that shared experience can bond you to that person. Number eight, respect for the other person's feelings and wishes. And to that, I would say, yes, for the guys, respecting a man's feelings, thoughts, and wishes. And for the woman, I would say cherishing her feelings, thoughts, and wishes. Okay. Being willing to delay your own short term gratification for the sake of the other person. Okay. Just being open to, okay, can I yield in this moment? Can I, put my desires on the back burner, that whole race to the back of the line. Can I do that in this situation, for my partner? And then my partner will in turn do it for me. Number 9, he put passion, including but not limited to a healthy sex life. Of course, I totally agree with that. And number 10, sharing in domestic duties. And this is, keeping up the house, keeping up the kids, keeping up the animals, just everything that you all have to do. If you are sharing a life, you should also be sharing in the responsibility for that life. I don't think any one person should have to feel like, we have this huge life together, but 80% of the responsibility for it is mine. That just feels so heavy. That just feels like, man, we have a great life, but 80% of it is my responsibility. I think that should be shared between both parties. So that feeling that so many people talk about, that sexual attraction, that chemistry, right? And they're talking about, I just have this connection or this chemistry with this person. But the truth of the matter is this: you can have chemistry with anybody, and that person that you have all this chemistry with or connection, you could have that with a person who's been a drug addict or an alcoholic. You could have chemistry with a pedophile. You can have chemistry with a murderer, or just that person could have done some really heinous things. And you may not be aware of it, but you have this chemistry with them initially. And so I often tell my clients when they come in that good, healthy, long-term relationships need 2 things. On this hand, and this is my left hand I'm holding up, they need passion, they need romance, they need adventure, they need chemistry and connection, and just that's something that you feel with that person that's just special and different, right? Something that draws you to that person. All of that, all the good stuff, right? That's the left hand. Yes, you definitely need that. But then the right hand, on the other hand, the relationship needs to make sense. It needs to make sense. Okay? So while you have this on the left hand, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. He's so fine. He's tall like I like him. He has a nice body, the 6-pack. He's got this, he's got that. If he is homeless, if he has no form of employment, if he has been in jail for the last 10 years for a heinous crime, if he, drowns kittens, right? If he's just a horrible person, no. Left does not trump right. Okay? So how you feel and the connection and the chemistry, I'm sorry, it does not trump over here in the right hand that says, this doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. So those 2 things have to come together. We do not just rely on the right hand, because there are a lot of people in the world who would say, oh my gosh, she's perfect on paper. She's got everything that I'm looking for. This totally makes sense. But then we don't have this on the left. We don't have that chemistry or connection. We don't have that spark or that something that is drawing us to this person, that undeniable, something that draws us to them. Because if we just have what's on the right, we will continue to search for what's on the left. So we may not be faithful to the woman who appears great and perfect and she makes sense on paper if we don't have that connection, if we don't have that chemistry and that spark with her. There's something about her that just draws me to her. We need both. Both of those things have to come together. And then it's amazing, right? It's amazing. We have this wonderful connection. There's something about this person that is very interesting to me, that I'm very curious about them. And then when I dig deeper on this side, things make sense. Like everything about this person makes sense. There's nothing, that would say that, I shouldn't be involved with this person. There's nothing so serious that says, oh, I should not be involved with this person. Those two things should come together. So that's where your heart and your head come together. And they have a meeting about this person. And sometimes your head wins, right? Because if what has happened with this person is so serious, your head wins that one. Okay? Your head overrides your heart and says, nope, this man murdered someone, murdered his last two wives. I don't care what your heart is telling you. I don't care what the connection or the chemistry is. No. The answer's no. You're not going to be with him, period. That's the end of it. Sometimes your heart may override. And in those instances, I would say, let's say you are dead set on marrying a man who, has a PhD and makes $250,000 a year and, has a nice big home and drives a Mercedes or whatever it is that you feel like would look good, in your life. All those things, all those outer things, that you want him to have on his resume. There could be a man out there that you connect with in a deeply spiritual way or a deeply, like a soul, almost a soul connection. And he does not technically have all of those things that you believe should be on his resume, but he is kind. He is patient. He is loving. He is giving. He is growing. He is building. And I mean, these are things that he's actively doing. Like you're not guiding and directing the growing. It's something that he's doing. He's, trying to grow and be better, and he's working on a business or he's working on an advanced degree and he may not be exactly where you need him to be, but that connection there says, you know what though? He doesn't have to be a completely finished project. There's something there. There's just a knowing that I have about this person that says, we could have a good life together. Like that will come. And especially if you're a younger person that's dating, you are to some extent basing this a little bit on the person's potential. Because if you met someone at 20 or 21 and you all are in college together, you don't have a lot of life experience in which to say, okay, he has to have his life perfectly together, because no one does. And yet lots of couples meet when they're in college or right after college. So to some extent, I would say, yes, that might be a time where your heart might override your head. And you would say, but you know what? There's a gut feeling, there's an instinct I have about this person that says 10 years from now, we're going to have an amazing life together. This person is on the road to something bigger than us. This person is, got everything that is necessary for us to have an amazing life together. And I believe 10, 20 years from now, we're going to have that amazing life. We don't have it now. We're both young, we're both in our early 20s, but my heart is telling me that there's something there that in time we are going to have, everything that I've ever wanted. And to some extent, you do have to kind of make a decision based on potential when you're dating kind of in your 20s, because we don't have any, we don't have 10, 20 years of experience to say, yes, this person's been in the workforce like if you're 45. No, that's not the case. So you kind of are making a decision based on an instinct, based on a discernment that you have. And I believe you can do that. I believe sometimes your gut, your instinct, your discernment about a person can be right on. So even when it appears one way, you have a feeling about it that's taking you another way. But really, the perfect combination is when those two things come together. When those two things come together, it makes sense. And your heart is in it. It is loving and passionate, and there's connection and chemistry there. When those two things come together and it makes sense, those are your happy, healthy, long-standing relationships. And again, we have to have the part that makes sense. We have to think about long term, aside from the sexual chemistry. Ooh, this person is very attractive, and oh, this person has an amazing body, or whatever it is that turns you on. Oh, this person has this. Okay, but God forbid if something happened. There has to be something else there. So it's kind of like when I say, you have the three things that you need. When I do the triangle, I say you have to have you have to have, so usually it's, for most people, this is the way the triangle goes. Lust, like, love. That's usually what happens. So we lust first because when we see a person, we are in a state of lusting. And I'm not even talking about all the way like sexual lusting, but we're lusting for something. For a woman, it may not even be sexual lusting, but it's lusting for, oh, he appears to have it all together. He appears to have the type of life and lifestyle that I could see myself being a part of. So it could be that kind of lusting. And for men, it could definitely be sexual lusting, but it's lust. Then if we put that on hold, like if we don't feed the lust, we can move into like. We can actually get to know the person enough to like them. And then we can take that like and we can turn it into love. But that's usually how it happens. Lust, then we like, then we love. And some people never get out of lust. Like they lust a person that they don't even like. They have lust for this person and then find out, wow, there's all these things about them I don't like. Some people skip over like and they jump right to love and say, well, I love them. I love them anyway. I mean, yeah, there's lots of things about them I don't like, but I love them. But I believe we have to experience all three. We have to go through all three phases for that relationship to really blossom, for it to really be something substantial. We can't skip over any of them, just like we can't go from like to love and not experience lust. I think we need to have all three. Your partner, your long-term mate, should also be your lover. And to me, that's what makes them special and different from everybody else, is that is the person that you are sexually intimate with. So we have to have all three. Now, sometimes they'll happen at different phases in a relationship, but we do have to have all three. We have to have all three. We have to genuinely like the person. We have to have a lust or a passion for the person. And then we have to have a love for the person. So we need a little bit of all of them. But yes, I mean, it's a sad, sometimes it's a sad commentary to me. I am a true hopeful romantic. And as much as I wanted to believe for the longest time that love was enough, that if two people love each other enough, they could make it work. They could, it would work out. They could make it work. And now I realize after 20, 30, 30 years, 30 plus years of being in relationships, I finally get it. Like I finally understand you need these two things have to come together. Love is not enough. There has to be things about the relationship or the person that actually makes sense because we live in the real world. We can't live in a fantasy world that says as long as I love this person, they're going to work hard, they're going to bring home a paycheck, they're going to pay bills, they're going to be a good father or mother, they're going to stay off of drugs, they're not going to drink too much, they're not going to abuse me, they're going to be faithful and loyal, they're going to love God, they're going to be a good leader. There's so many things that we need as human beings for our mates to be, for them to be in a healthy relationship with us. And so I just encourage you, take all of that in. And that's why I often tell people, Start with the relationship. Start with the relationship you want to have. Think about what that's like. Think about every aspect of the ideal relationship that you want to have with a partner. And then from there, go out into the world, meet people, and find someone that can give you that. Find a person that you can like, lust, love, all of it, and that they can participate for the most part in the relationship that you want to have. I think when we do it that way, we have a better outcome. We have a better chance of having a healthy, happy, long-term relationship and marriage because we are on the same page. We're on many pages, right? Not just that one page, which is love. There are many pages in this book that we're both on. We are both mature. We're both able to support each other, love each other. We can have separate friendships, separate hobbies and interests. We can have some same hobbies and interests and friendships, but we allow expression for the both of us. We allow growth for the both of us within the relationship. That is a happy, healthy, loving relationship. We don't regularly curse people out and call names and do things and say hurtful things and distrust. And, we don't regularly do that. Because if we claim we love this person and we are committed and we're working on growing and being a better person, we should see less and less of that over time. But if you've been in a relationship long term with someone and 5 years has gone by and every time they get mad, they're just cursing you out from top to bottom. They're just calling you names. They're threatening the end of the relationship or, they're threatening to cheat or to do whatever. No, I don't consider that growth. I don't consider that love. I don't consider that evolving within the relationship. We're stuck in a pattern that isn't healthy. And again, I know people get into relationships and there's some growing pains at the beginning, but there should be some growth. There should be some getting to the place where we're not doing the same hurtful things over and over and over. And too many folks, they're not there. They've been in a relationship 5, 10, 15 years, and it's par for the course. It's the same thing over and over and over. And it's torturous. It's torturous to keep going into that cycle over and over. And there are people who do it with multiple relationships. They don't even do it with the same person because the relationships end. They're not changing. They're not growing. They're just reliving the same relationship but with different people over and over and over. And it's because there's no maturity, there's no growth, there's no self-reflection. All of that's necessary. All of those things. So not only do we need love, we need skills. We need conflict resolution skills. We need communication skills. We need appreciation. We need to have our love languages met. We need our needs met. Love is not enough. We have to have these other skills in which to maintain that. We need to maintain an environment that can continue to grow love. And that's why a lot of times people will say, well, the love died. I fell out of love with this person. And really what they're trying to say is the environment in which love existed could no longer continue to grow the love. And remember, we're either growing or we're dying. There is no in between. Either we are progressing, right? Or we're shrinking. We're falling into nothing. So I say grow, and you don't have to grow leaps and bounds. Grow by baby steps. The growth is going to look different on different days, but continue to grow. Continue to go in the direction of being better. And if you're not doing that, you're going in the direction of getting worse. So Remember that always, that love is the most powerful thing that exists in the universe. I really believe that. And I believe that inside of us each is a measure of love. And it can grow, it can get big. We all have it in us. That's why we crave this connection with other human beings so badly. It's the reason why people meet and marry, and then it's the reason why people have children. It's the reason why people connect with nature, with animals. It's the reason why we need to connect. It's because we are love and we have to express it. We have to give it and receive it in return. So, yes, love is a powerful thing. It is the most important thing. But just know this, in relationships with other people, because we're not perfect, because we are, so fallible, so imperfect, it will require other things on top of that love. It will require growing and changing and evolving. It will require a desire to want to do these things, not just talking about them, but actively pursuing them. So it's more than just saying, I love this person. There is action required. There is commitment required. There is the pursuing of the growth and the change required. We should see something. And when we don't see anything, and then we start to question, this person says they love me, but they're not really spending time with me. They're not really doing anything that would lead me to believe that's how they really feel. And so, yes, it is going to require us to do something, whether it's the love for our children or our pets or our family members or our significant others. It's going to require for other people to see it. It's going to require that we do something, and we do something that is congruent with the words that we're using. So I could go on and on about this topic because it's something that I believe we need to talk more about. We need to be open to the idea that, you know, we're raised in a society that has us believing that as long as we have love, as long as we have this romantic notion of love, that everything should be fine, everything should work out. And clearly we know that's not true. The divorce rate alone is showing us that that's just not true. And guess what? I myself have been in relationships where I have loved the person deeply and madly, and yet we are not together because we did not have those other common sense things that we needed to have for the relationship to last, for the relationship to grow. So it wasn't just about love. There were some basic skills there that was missing, and the relationship wasn't growing. It wasn't progressing. It wasn't um, happy and healthy and secure. It wasn't committed. It wasn't, there were these things missing that needed to be a part of it in order for it to stay happy and healthy and progressive and growing and all of that. So yes, there's love there. There's still love there. I still have love for many of the men that I have been in relationship with. But clearly there's something else missing because those relationships ended. And there were needs that weren't being met on both of our parts. I'm sure there were needs they had that I couldn't meet, and there were needs I had that they couldn't meet. So that's a part of it too. But think about it like this: create your ideal relationship first. What is it you want? What is it you don't want? And what is it you need? And really feel that out. Feel out what that looks like to you. And then as you start to go out and engage people, you're going to determine if this person you're meeting could participate in this relationship that you want. Could this person be one of the players? And for the most part, do a pretty good job. that's it. But if there are some big things, some red flags, some things that don't make sense, remember the head is going to override the heart on some things. If there's some big things there, the answer's no. And the head has to override the heart. If you're a person of faith and you want to go to church on Sunday, you want to pray together and read the Bible, and this person is atheist, that's a no. That's a common sense. My head is going to tell me no. It doesn't matter the connection that I feel or how close I am or connected or sparks flying or whatever. That's something that's really important to me, and this person can't participate in it. Or if that person hates animals, that's a no. That's an easy no. And so this will require great maturity on your part, because you have to know maturity will let you know when your head gets the last vote and when your heart gets the last vote. That's just a grown-up thing to do. Your head says, okay, no, that's a no, because that's huge in the relationship that we want to have, and this person can't give us that. Instead of your heart saying, well, I'm just stuck on this person. There's something about this person that I really want. I want this person. But all that's going to happen is you may have that person, but you're never going to have the relationship you really want. And you're either going to spend time trying to change that person so they can fit into the relationship you want, or you're going to be unhappy because you don't have the relationship that you want. So, no, that's where your head overrides your heart. And it says, nope, this isn't going to happen. I don't care what you're feeling. I don't care what sparks are flying or what connection you think y'all have. This person can't participate in the relationship that we've decided would make us really happy. So no, try again. Roll the dice again. Try again, because it's not this person. So don't get hemmed up on this person, because we're just going to be frustrated at the end of the day. And that's okay, but that's a mature person that's able to say that. So I could talk about this forever. Let me know what you think about this idea that love is all we need. It is truly, a Western romantic concept. And there are parts of the world, all over the world, that still have arranged marriage. There are parts of the world that just, they don't take any of this stuff into account. The family chooses the partner, and when they choose the partner, it's based on nothing but the common sense. This makes sense. This is good for our family, or it doesn't have anything to do with sparks flying or romance or any of that. They make it strictly on this is a good decision, and a lot of times those marriages work well. Like, those people stay married, and it works. So I don't know. I should have done some research on that. I should have done some research on the statistics behind arranged marriages and how many of these couples stay together and report marital satisfaction. That would be a great statistic. So I'm going to look into that. But thank you so much for joining me on this week's podcast. This was kind of a long one. Going into the month of January, I just want to let you all know that January is going to be MCM, Man Crush Month. I am going to interview a male, every week for 4 weeks in January, and we're going to talk about different subjects, different topics related to men and relationships. And what I hope will happen is, for my women listeners out there, that this will give you hope. Here lately, I've been talking to a lot of women who say they've just completely lost hope, that there are men who are trying to grow and get better and evolve, or that there are men out here who care as much about relationships and personal growth as we do. And I know that's not true. I know plenty of men who care about it just like we do. So I hope it is inspiring to you to listen to some of these interviews that I have coming up. I'm excited about it. I'm super, super excited about doing these interviews. And I want you to listen in the month of January. Comment, please comment. Let me know what you're thinking about some of the interviews that I'm going to be having and the topics that we're going to discuss so we can continue this conversation. And that's heading into February, where if you're in Richmond, Virginia, we have an event coming up for singles called Lock and Key. I'm super excited about that. I'm going to start advertising that on every podcast show coming up. But Lock and Key is coming up in February on February 15th. So yes, continue to listen. Check out the podcast in January, ladies, and comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think about these episodes. But thank you so much for joining me. And as always, stay open to love. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you are enjoying this podcast, please leave me a 5-star rating and review. Your ratings and reviews help me to continue to bring you more great content. Head on over to YouTube and check out the Better Love Movement channel. There's more video content there, and you can subscribe to be notified when a new video is posted. If you have a question that you would like to have answered on the podcast or in a YouTube video, please send it to me at info@betterlovemovement.com. You can also connect with me directly on the Magnify app to have your dating and relationship questions answered. That's MAGNIFI, and it's available on iOS and Android. You get your first 5 minutes for free. So give me a call and let's chat.